I was extremely immature. And I didn't realize it until I started reading. I didn't realize it until I started noticing certain reactions that I'll be getting from her. And once I made those observations, I started making changes, and that was probably the difference. I literally had to go, wow, Rick, did you really behave like that? Did you really speak to her like that?
Every L podcast. Every L podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Matt Brown, and you're listening to the
Every L podcast.
Each episode, we'll have a different guest come on and talk about when life hands you an L, is it really a loss or is it something else?
Because not every L's a loss.
So sit back, relax, or do whatever you guys do to get comfortable as we get into this. Let's go. Welcome everyone to another episode of Every L podcast, where we explore when life hands you an L. Is it really a loss, or could it be something else? I don't know, a diversion, or it is just a straight up L. It is what it is, right? So I'm really happy, as always, to have this guest on. Now, this guest, honestly, can't remember when I started following them. Honestly, can't tell you when I started hearing their music. Honestly, can't tell you much about anything other than the banter that I see on their stories, and we have the back and forth. But it was nice that it reciprocated, and all I can say is, boy, I'm gonna do a proper intro this time, because one time I had someone on and I kind of fanboyed over it and I fluffed the intro in terms of I didn't let them introduce themselves. I just kind of went straight into their L's. This time I'm gonna make sure I don't do that. However, can I just say this person is just, from the outside looking in, because I've had very limited actual engagement. This is like the first time I actually held a conversation with them, but they just seem to be down to earth, a real people person, someone who love on their wife, a family person, and just living their best life, like living their best days. But for those that don't know, I love my music. Music can just send me places, and I can just live there, and I can just occupy it for the longest period of time. This person's music is just that. Just sit on repeat, go about my business, and I'm good. The voice, the tone, the way it's been arranged, especially the bridges, like how it's not just one style either. It's slightly different genres in there, but it's that nice, calming, soothing music where you can just have the lights down low or put some mood lighting on, have a hot beverage, and you're good.
That's nice to hear.
Problem is, I can't listen to it now because I don't have no more babies. However, it is that type of vibe where it gets you there. And there's one question: is it your wife that sung a song with you?
Yeah, probably. Like she's on all of the BVs on most of my songs, but there's one song that we did together as a duet kind of thing, and that was on the last EP. So yeah.
I think. Do you know what it is? I think when I heard that one, I was hoping it weren't going to be no. I don't know if you know about Dietrich Haddon.
Yeah. I
was hoping it would not Dietrich Haddon, like Demeter Haddon, where it's like this is a wedding song, and I will check up on it. It's like they ain't married no more. Like
Yeah.
So all them lyrics were just lyrics.
Yeah. I guess it was nice for the time period that it came out, and I suppose you like hold value to it there. But yeah, I know what you mean. I didn't even know they split up. To be honest with you, this is news to me.
Bro, I checked it. I'm like, this song's a banger. Yeah. They split.
Oh man, that's a shame.
It is. But yeah,
I hope they're both happy either way.
Yeah, no, definitely, especially with all the followings they had and stuff like that. And obviously they're on a pedestal, people look up to them and so forth. But it's all about them and their journeys and making sure that it's all good. But yes, everyone, this is a fantastic individual. His name is Riccy. He is a musician. He is a family man. He is a human who's got jokes for days. He loves off his wife. I love how he loves his wife. Like that just encouraged me to do the same thing. I don't do it as much as I should do, and I hold my hands up. I've got to work on that. I spoke to Emmanuel a few episodes ago, and he loved off his wife. And it's like, yo, I need to do that. And I've got no shame in calling myself that, because it's all about being honest here, right? And I need to work that out, because in my eyes, my wife is the prettiest person I've come across. And that's even seeing my daughter. So I need to fix up on that and make sure I let my wife know how I still see her, because I think that's only right.
Talk your things, bro. Talk your things. Talk your things.
Got to do it. So, Ricky, please introduce yourself as you see fit.
Yeah. So I'm Riccy Mitchell, singer-songwriter, free thinker, helper, brother, friend, cousin, uncle, all the above, family man. And just someone just enjoys spending time with good people, man, and just sharing stories and times and good energy and all that kind of stuff, man. Just a bit of a lad, I suppose. Just enjoying things at the minute, man, which is great. So yeah, I don't really. It's always a weird one when you get asked to introduce yourself, because you don't want to like start saying all the accolades that all the things you've
Mate,
accomplished.
own it.
Yeah,
Own
no,
it.
I do hear you, but it's like, okay, just introduce yourself. It's like, okay, so hi, I'm Ricky, and I like sport. It's like, what do you say,
Go
kind of
for it.
thing.
Treat it like an AA. Not saying you did to AA, but your last post did talk about how AA meetings. So
Listen, so that just to clear that up, basically, true to form, like you were saying, that was literally just me perping on my wife, and like I put a post up saying that there was a sign behind her, and it said, AA rescue, whatever. And I was like, somebody needs to call the AA, because it's going to take a truck for me to get off of her tonight. That kind of, so that's, yeah, but that's a different kind of AA, I suppose. But yeah, man, I do definitely,
both into recovery.
absolutely, recovering from, crazy night. Clear throat.
It's fine. It's fine. So yeah, I like the modesty, folks. Guy is. You'll check out his stuff. His detail will be in the show note. But yeah, definitely one to watch and one to keep in contact with. So I'm gonna go into this L, and as everyone knows, I don't know what these L's are prior to it. I give them the information, they then submit it to me, and I then tackle it as and when need to. So this one for me is very, very interesting, because Ricky said the first L I would like to speak about is love and sacrifice. So that in my head automatically goes and says, yo, my guy's already giving me the title for his new album, but probably not going to get that exclusive.
Little exclusive. You never know. He might be.
That's true. But it does lead me to think, right, can you really have love without sacrifice? And that's then obviously I'm like, pump the brakes. Let's not go down a rabbit hole. Let's wait until the time we engage, have the conversation, and you can explain what you mean by love and sacrifice. So if I could actually go back to the beginning and take us on that journey in terms of why love and sacrifice would potentially an L.
It's amazing that you picked up on that phrase when you said, "Can you really have love without sacrifice?" Because I think they go hand in hand, and this is kind of where it started for me. So you kind of have to roll with the punches and see what unfolds itself, and then dig into that and sort of dig your heels in and just roll with the punches, literally. And you have like days where there is more sacrifice than love, and sometimes the love, overwhelms and like outdoes everything else, kind of thing. So those days are more the days you look forward to. So for me, it started. When did it start? I suppose you can go from shortly after me and my now wife were separated. So we were very young. This is just after we had our first child, and we kind of like had a bit of a distance, a bit of a gap, bit of a break for about a year and a bit, just to really kind of get to know ourselves again. Or I guess for me, it was like kind of for the first time. So I was in a space where I was like, I just need to sort of develop. So I was bang on reading. I was bang on speaking to people that I really respected, particularly males that I really respected. And some of those people, like my brother-in-law, Gavin Holligan, my one of my closest friends, Joey. And then like it was my wife's dad, who like selflessly sort of like took me under his wing and was like, whether or not you're going to be involved in my daughter's life, I just want you to be a good man. So having those conversations with him kind of really put me in a place where I was able to like figure out who I was, outside of a relationship, which I felt was really healing and very important to me. So moving forward a little bit, we had our child. We were separated for a little while, really getting to know ourselves. And then all of a sudden, there was like a moment where we sort of reconnected, and we'd been like sort of developing our relationship friends. Obviously, because we've got a son together, we wanted to be civil, and never really wanted to have that thing where, oh, that's my baby mom's, I hate her, all that kind of stuff. The thought of it was frightening, it's terrifying to me. So I kind of just was like, I really don't want that. So I worked on a relationship with her actively. And after that period, we kind of like, we didn't really look back, and in saying that, because we were quite young when we started out, that was part of the sacrifice, is that being that young, you miss out on a lot of things that, some of your peers are doing, or you watch them. If you started in, for example, if you're in college together, you would be on completely different paths now because you've got responsibilities that they don't have. So the sacrifices that you're having to make in terms of not going out to, the wine bar or the open mic night, or going to the cinema, or going to whoever's party, or going to Dubai for 2 weeks, or whatever it is, like, you're missing out on those things now, because you now have to think about where you're going to be finding money for basic things, for shopping, for nappies, for, rent, all that kind of stuff. So the sacrifice, I think, started around about that time for me. And there was just a period where it was just sacrifice after sacrifice after sacrifice. And it started to feel a bit overwhelming. But then you think to yourself, every day that I wake up, I'm doing this for a reason. And as a mantra, I said to myself, I'm not in the position. I don't have to do this. Like, you get up and you're like, oh, I have to go and feed them, or I have to go to work and at a job that you don't like, or I have to go and do this. And no. Think about it from a different position. Like, no, you don't have to. You get to do this. Like, because a lot of people that are not in a position that they're able to work. A lot of people are not in a position that they're able to earn any money. A lot of people are not in a position that they're able to literally have good health, or blink or breathe or whatever. Like, some of people are just in graves and dead, in jail, whatever it is. And like, you just kind of have to, like, as a mantra, just put yourself in a position where, like, no, okay, mentally, I'm grateful that I'm able to get up and make moves. I'm grateful that I'm able to make money. I'm grateful that I'm able to impact people's lives. And I'm grateful that I have an outlet, which is, for me, is my music. So going fast forward, we've been married 15 years now.
Congratulations.
Thank you, my bro. Appreciate it. So that's like a 20 year period, like 20 years of my life. And in totality, I've been with my lovely wife, and but we've been married for 15 years, and it's not an easy journey. Marriage is difficult, especially when there are children involved. And I would say this to anybody that is considering getting married and having a family, is that how much of your relationship has been solidified in friendship, to where your children have moved on, and then you now don't know how to be as a couple without them. So solidify yourself in your relationship, so that you have something when they're gone. This house is silent. Now all of a sudden you just don't really know what to do with yourself. Come Christmas time, you're like, what do we do, kind of thing. Or come, birthday celebrations or whatever, like other gatherings and stuff, and they're just, it's not popping, doesn't feel like the way it should, because you haven't worked on that relationship. So yeah, I say to anyone that was considering getting married and having a family, so yeah, just work on your relationship daily, man. And I feel like I do that every day. I guess you'd have to ask my wife what she thinks, to be honest with you. But yeah, I actively work on it. Like, I try to do creative things, and creative date nights, and make jokes. And our thing has always been watching comedy, and we love to laugh with each other, like stand-up comedy or comedic films, or she's really into now this Snapped Women Who Kill, which is freaky. because it's all about.
I think she's telling you something
I
indirectly
feel, I
there.
think I feel like that way. I feel that way as well. I feel like that way as well. But it's I don't know. They are actually quite interesting programs, to be honest with you. But I feel like she's trying to
You might
double
want to just
something.
make sure she ain't got a life insurance paperwork
That's
out.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, she made a banging meal today, and what she likes to do is she likes to sweeten up the pot, and just try and get my guard down. I don't know. No, I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm playing. It's part of the sacrifice. You see, you just don't know. You just don't know. No, but like, she's a gem. She's an absolute gem, and I just kind of appreciate the input that she's had over my life and in my life, and that's another sacrifice. I suppose I look at, as to a lot of the times I'm looking at some of my friends, and they're single and they're doing their thing and they're out there living their life, and I look at them and I'm like, is their life any different to mine? Not necessarily better, but any different. And every now and then, obviously, you kind of you could get sucked in to the whole Instagram thing and think, well, they're showing this and they're showing that, but you really have no idea what's going on in their life
Yeah.
until you're speaking on a daily basis. I don't subscribe to getting sucked into that world, and like, because you look at it through a lens, like, you can literally like, if you look at my Instagram, okay, most of my posts are down at the moment because I'm doing a whole restructure of my brand before I release some new music next year. But if you look at my Instagram, you will see, like, my life looks lit. It looks lit, and you're like, how is this guy able to be able to do this, that, and still have family and still have this, that, and the third, or whatever? But you really don't know what it is that person's doing. Like,
Yeah.
I work a full-time job. You know what I'm saying? I am, and I don't have the luxury of being able to just sort of sit at home, make songs, and then that be the end of it. I don't have that right now. I work towards that, obviously, but as an independent artist, you wanna make sure you're doing all that you can, and when you're doing that, it takes time. And again, going back to sacrifices, I have to now look at the time that I'm spending outside of the house versus the time that I need to spend with my family, or the time that I spend in the corner of the house, which is my studio, versus having games night, or having the talk with my children. I've got three lovely children. They're all teenagers now, and they are very, very challenging. And it's like, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're missing out.
Yeah.
And I've tried to kind of find a balance, and it's hard. Sometimes it's way off, and sometimes I'm bang on it, man. But it kind of gives you something to look forward to, in terms of, now I know I can develop this, so now I can develop that. So I read a really great book. The name of the author slips me, but it's called Atomic Habits, and it was one of the books that really changed my perception of how to be productive, and give myself the best chance throughout the 24 hours that we do all have, or the 12 hours, or whatever, however you want to look at it, and use my time wisely. So in terms of sacrificing time, I have to sort of divide it in a way that is not only palatable for my wife, but also my children. And I've got two boys and a girl, and the two boys are very challenging. And my girl is probably the most challenging of all, because she's stunning. She's a stunning looking girl, and she is trouble. And I don't have any ammunition.
Right.
It's techie. I'm not the violent type of person, but no, jokes aside, but it's one of the things where you have, and she's got a great personality, and she
She's
just
a total
draws me.
package.
Yeah, she's yeah, man, she has a draw about her. So because she has that draw about her, obviously, the boys are gonna be flocking, and now you're like, okay, now I'm gonna have to start knuckling up. So you start doubling down on the press ups. You start you start adding the extra weights on, just to
Also, you're
get
looking
a
at it
bit
what's
more
more
intimidating.
swell.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because not with my daughter. Hello. Absolutely not. But at the same time, I gotta now watch out for these young ladies as well, because the way that social media is gassing our youth is insane, and you just everything's hyperly sexualized.
Yeah.
You just it just makes it very difficult for you to just be a 14-year-old boy and just be that, be into skateboarding, be into gaming. Now you have to try and impress this person and that person, or the notion is that you're supposed to, or try to impress this person, that person with whatever. And it just makes it difficult to just be. But both my boys are quite fit. They're into football. They're both playing for really, really cool teams, and they're training 2-3 times a week. And it's a hard thing to be able to navigate, and then to leave my house and then go to the studio, or to just, like I said, go over to the section in the house that I normally do my recording, my creative stuff in, and spend time there. And knowing that they've got between the hours 4 to about 8, which is when I normally send them to bed. That's right, 8 o'clock bedtime.
Nice.
Between 4 and 8, they kind of like, I have that time to kind of give them a bit of me. But most of the time they want to sort of like chill and do their own thing, which is, again, is fine. It kind of means that we can do our own thing within the house or whatever not. But like the time is just finding the balance of the time when you make those sacrifices. And actually, I'm not going to spend 3 hours working on edits. I'm going to spend 1.5 hours, and then I'm going to play blackjack with the family, or then I'm going to watch a film, whatever not. But those kinds of things, like I said, it just kind of goes hand in hand, like the sacrifice, because I love them. I want to give them my time, my attention. I don't ever want them to feel as though I've chosen career over them. But also, we have to remember is that oftentimes our careers are the one thing that we have that is like solely ours. Even though you do it for your family, or you do it for, to gain whatever it is that you're trying to gain, like that's the one thing you have for you. And I was having this conversation with my wife the other day, and that she's a qualified midwife, band 7, just killing the game. And I'm like watching her work, and she comes home, she brings her work home, and you can't switch off like the phone that they give you. You can't switch off, because it's women that you're caring for, and they have needs. You can't predict when someone's going to be in labor or whatever not. So, and when you're speaking to your midwife, you want to make sure that your midwife is available when you need them, kind of thing. So she doesn't really have the luxury of being able to sort of like switch off the phone, or I don't want to deal with that right now. Plus, she's a professional. Plus, she loves her job, so she doesn't want to do that herself. So more time is me telling her, like, come on, man, it's time to switch off. I do it because I know what it does to my head. So I switch off because I know it's okay, it's time to shut that off and just focus here. But literally the mind's on the go all the time. And when you have those kind of responsibilities, and she's very career driven, but she's very family orientated as well. And when you have that balance to try and work out, it's difficult. It's very difficult, and it's a constant like pendulum of yes or no, or do I do this or do I not do this, and it's just difficult to kind of navigate. But you find the time for the things that are important. Where possible, you have to make the time. You have to consciously make that effort. So we do things, plan date nights in advance. Sometimes they're impromptu. The kids are big enough now that we can go out for a couple of hours, like even if it's like just a walk around the park or a walk around the area kind of thing. We make those sacrifices. But like I was saying, when you're career driven and you want that thing particularly for yourself to work, you make sacrifices based on what you feel needs to happen, and sometimes it can come across quite selfish. And I feel like we need to redefine what selfishness is, because sometimes being selfish can save your life. And that's my personal experience in terms of like, I feel like I need this particular thing so much. It's so important to me. I need you to understand where I'm at right now. I need you to get it. I need you to feel me. I need you to understand this is for me. It's the only thing I have for me. Everything else, I'm the capacity of a father. I'm the capacity of a husband, a capacity of a brother, a friend, or whatever it is, and everything for everybody else. What am I just for me? And to focus on those things. And sometimes I have to sacrifice the things that I want for me, for the greater good, or for the people that I love, and that's part of it. But in turn, you kind of want people to understand that when you need to make that same decision for yourself, that it needs to be respected, needs to be heard, and you don't need the guilt trip. You want people to support you in that. So, like I said, that selfishness sometimes, I know for me personally, it has shaped my life in terms of the last 5-6 years. I've had to be relentless with my time, relentless, and say to the children, between this time and that time on this particular day, leave me alone and give me my space. And they've started adopting that same thing. And it's been nice to see, because now you're starting to see, I need you to respect my time, respect my space, and those boundaries that get put in place. And if you can respect it, I can respect it, it's reciprocated, then they'll take those lessons outside of that. Now, when you're asked to stay an extra 25 minutes at work where you're shattered, you actually know 5 o'clock is my clock off time, and that's going to be the end of it. I'm not going to be made to feel bad about it because I'm contracted till that time. Or I just don't go any further past that, and just literally just put healthy boundaries in place. And that's what I mean by just sort of redefining selfishness, is that you kind of have to do it for your mental health. It's scary out here how easy it is to slip into like a spiral to where your head is just not good. And I've suffered depression. I know what it's like, and I don't I don't recommend it. Just I don't recommend it, man. It's not. It's like some people kind of like glamorize, and I wouldn't say fetishize, but like just romanticize like the idea of having some sort of mental issue. It's not fun. It's not fun. Yeah, I know the world is woke to mental health right now, which is fantastic. But sometimes mental health looks like you saying no. Sometimes mental health looks like you saying not today. And sometimes it looks like, you know what? I'm giving you my time because you deserve it. Sometimes it looks like that. And that's great for me. I want to be the best person I can be. So in order for me to do that, then this is what I need on this day, right now, for the next 2 weeks, whatever. This is what I need. And that's going to help me be a better person, and just sort of using those times to try and better yourself, man. That's love and sacrifice in a nutshell. Because to this day, I feel like I'm a lot stronger mentally, and I understand and more sensitive to the people that are around me as a result, because I feel like people that are around me respect my decisions, and it hasn't always been like that. But because I've had to put my foot down, respectfully, you kind of learn really quickly. People do respect what you need, as long as you're sort of giving them that same thing back. And where they don't, you just, it is what it is. Just what I need, and that's that, man.
Well, that sounds good and really positive, because it's sort of given the context and take us on a journey in terms of what things have been like between yourself and your wife, and you had your first child, then you've had your separation, your father-in-law's then got involved. You've then clearly had additional children in the meantime. Years have gone by. You're now in the teen phase where all three of them are in teenage years, and it's a minefield more so than it was before, because you can't just put reins on them and treat them like that. It's like they've got their own personality, got their own lives, got their own everything. And a lot of the things they're going to be just from interaction with other people, what they're exposed to, including yourself and your wife and the family members. And it's a lot. And I fully get that. I'm at the early stage of that same period. Although I must admit, when you said about your daughter, how she looks and stuff like that, I kind of feel the same about my daughter. I'm kind of feel like, don't get me wrong, she's like 5 months old next week, right? But I kind of feel like, wow, why not get with the ugly best friend rather than my wife? Because if I got the ugly best friend, I wouldn't have to worry about this little daughter. Like, oh, it's one of the things like, you know what? If it's to be, it's to be. Like, I got twins, like from the jump. I already knew whatever I thought I had control of.
Gone.
So
right.
Everything else that is just like, you know what? It's calm. Just do what I gotta do, because there's nothing else I can do.
That's right.
But I will ask you a question, because there's a lot in there that I think overlaps in terms of what I've experienced personally. But I just think it'd be really interesting to know. You mentioned, obviously, you loved your wife from the jump. You've been with her for a very long time. And just give a bit of context for those that are listening, as well as for yourself. I've been with my wife, well, we've been married 12 years as of next month, but we've been together since 2001. So
Congrats, man.
thank you. So we are best friends.
Congratulations,
You know,
bro.
I've always said, if I had to shut off the world and just be at home with you, I'll be all right with her. Obviously, a few years later, lockdown happened. I'm still here though. I'm still here. Let me know.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I was happy about that, and I understand that relationships can be trying. Thankfully enough, we never had the separation period, which I know a lot of people have gone through for various reasons. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I guess because my wife went to university and I didn't, I was down here. I used to commute back and forth.
Sure.
So I guess in a way it was kind of like that. Because we wasn't in each other's pockets every day.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, because we were still committed to one another. My question to you, if you don't mind disclosing, or however you want to dress it up, what was the sacrifices that you struggled with in those earlier stages that meant you had to take a step back and reevaluate your situation?
Do you mean from my relationship or from life in general?
Both, if you want to.
So, all right. So in terms of stepping back from my relationship itself, I feel like probably some of the triggers was just the immaturity, the breaking some of the things that I'd learned from, watching like my parents and my cousins, my older cousins and stuff, and those kinds of things, and just habits that you develop from whatever influences that you have from wherever you get them from. It could be music, it could be movies, whatever it is. But really trying to like not get sucked into the things that you've learned and putting those things into your relationship. Now, I was extremely immature, and I didn't realize it until I started reading. I didn't realize it until I started noticing certain reactions that I'll be getting from her. And once I made those observations, I started making changes, and that was probably the difference. I literally had to go, wow, Rick, did you really behave like that? Did you really speak to her like that? And to be honest, it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything so harsh that what's the words? It wasn't anything that was so harsh that I'm completely ashamed of myself, and like I didn't get abusive or anything like that. It was just stuff that you would now deem as toxic, and realize like, I was 19 when I met her. You know what I'm saying? So like now I'm looking at it going, right, I was just very young. But a lot of those things it's just learned behavior. I learned behavior. Like if you start reading books on relationships and books on communication, like I read a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Again, I can't remember the name of the authors, and it's so bad, so please forgive me. But it was an amazing book, and it basically just sort of outlined how you can have a conversation with someone, get a point across without being or coming across combative or coming across conceited or coming across arrogant.
Yeah.
And just learning those lessons to get the best result from what you're trying to achieve. So if I was trying to achieve making sure that at least once a week we shared the responsibility of cooking, just something as simple as that. Me coming home with that whole, my mum cooks every day and she gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning, which she does to this day. She gets up early and she cooks and she cleans. And I can't tell you the last time I've gone into my mum's house and it's been a mess. But, when you have like 3 children under 5, and then you're talking about coming home to a clean house with food on the table in that traditional manner that my grandparents might be used to, like where their lifestyles were different, the times are different, the toys are different, all this kind of stuff. It's just all these external influences are going to change the whole get up, and it's just understanding that, so taking that into consideration. And how best can I translate this? Like, listen, what I'm intending on doing is cooking every Friday. And if I miss that Friday, then I'll make up for it by doing X, Y, Z. I'll cook on a Saturday, or I'll do breakfast on a Saturday, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's just the constant effort to make sure that not only are you upholding what you agree to, but you're leading by example. And for me, it was probably one of the defining moments of our relationship, in that, like, how those particular things were communicated. It wasn't offensive. And that was probably the biggest thing. Like, actually, no, I can say exactly how I feel, but I'm not shouting out and all this kind of stuff. It's just because it's not helpful. All that's doing is letting you know that I'm angry. And I know that you know I'm angry because you can see my face. You can see by how I'm talking. The fact that we're having this conversation, you can tell I'm frustrated. But communicate that, and those are some of the things that I feel like if I hadn't taken a step back from my relationship, and particularly from how I was as a person at the time, I probably would still be making a lot of those things. I doubt we would have made it past 5 years. I doubt it very much would have made it past 5 years, because it was intense, to the point, like I said, when we did have that period of separation, she made a very clear cut and was very relentless in saying that, I need to do this for me. This is not about you. This is not about our son, who was like a baby at the time. Like, this is not about that. This is about me figuring out who I am as a new mum going into this world, still very young. I've got to figure this out because I can't fail this child. And listening to that, and then going, okay, cool. And then further to that, she's like, I can't fail because it's not just about me anymore, And she's always been the life of the party. Wherever there's a vibe, she's probably in the middle of it somewhere, and I love that about her. And she felt that she was starting to lose that, and that was like part of her essence, and it kind of helped bring her balance, because you learn that just because you've been one way your whole life, something could change and change the whole trajectory of your life, and now you have to be something else. And do something completely different, which is maybe contrary to what you've been your entire life. And those things take time to build up. And if you're not putting in that work, then how exactly are you going to navigate? You end up getting swallowed up by it, and it's just not going to be helpful to yourself, and as a byproduct, it won't be helpful to your loved ones around you. And a lot of people are depending on me. A lot of people are dependent on her, and that's a pressure in itself. But if I get to a point where I'm like, you know what, this is way too much, and I start to feel overwhelmed, you literally have to take a step back, and I do regularly, and give myself the time and benefit of that. Listen, you're working very hard. So I tell myself, I look in the mirror, and I look for a very particular thing when I look in the mirror. And it may sound odd, but I literally look to see if I can see myself in the mirror, because there's a difference between seeing yourself and seeing a reflection.
Yeah. Definitely.
And when I look in the mirror, and I have to look directly into the reflection of my eyes for what I can see in the mirror, and go, there he is. Okay, cool. And then I speak to that person. I'm like, okay, you're going through a lot right now. You've gone through hell and high water. Your children are driving you absolutely crazy. Your job is a high demand job. You have to be meticulous with very fine details, and it's a lot. You're trying to put music out every couple of months. You've got bills to pay. You're doing a lot, so you need to relax. Cut yourself some slack, And I tell myself that regularly, and that those kind of things help me kind of get my head in the correct space, so that I'm not overwhelming myself, man. Because, like I said before, depression is no joke.
No, definitely that. And the thing that I'm hearing in the conversation that we're having is that the love and sacrifice doesn't sound like it was just between you and your wife. Mm-hmm. It also seems like it was between you, yourself, and I. Mm-hmm. In terms of, you knew that there was sacrifice that needed to be made from within yourself, like you
Mm-hmm.
said about the selfishness. It's not selfish as society may portray it to be. It's
Mm-hmm.
selfish in the sense of self-care,
Correct.
self-preservation.
Correct.
Otherwise, you could go down a rabbit hole and struggle to return from it because of the dark place you find yourself in. I myself had depression, and I knew that it came from, and clearly I can say it's now because in hindsight, my wife soldiered through it. She, you know, if it wasn't for her, probably would still be in it. I think I just threw myself into work too much, and I negated all the creativity in me, so that, and I'm sure for anyone that's employed or even if they're self-employed, any work you do, there's always more work to do. Like, it never stops.
Absolutely.
So it's a complete myth thinking, oh, if I just stay an extra hour, no. You always find something to do. People seem to think that, you know, whenever there's a job, someone's like, oh, well, that's not easy. I never said it was easy. If I choose I'm going to do something, if I wanted to make a box, right? People can say, but it's a box, it's not that deep. If I'm serious about it, I will make it that deep. There's different dimensions. There's a whole heap of something to do with it. Anything you put your hand to that you're taking seriously, it's going to be hard work. The relationship you was in, as much as beautiful as it is, hard work. The relationship with yourself, as easy as it could seem because you get up and just do your thing, it's still hard work because it's all about the balance. As you spoke about the pendulum going back and forth. I want to ask a question to you, and I think it's a very straightforward question, if I'm honest, but it just feels like the right one to ask. During that time with your wife, and you had to make these sacrifices, whether you agreed with them at the time or not, did you still love her?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I know exactly why you asked that question, because when you have all of those things just sort of clouding your mind and your judgment and your perception, all that kind of stuff, it does make you wonder, is what all of this really worth it? And then try to sort of like psych yourself out of certain things. Like, it's like, it wasn't really worth it. Let's just leave it. It's not, no, you don't love her kind of thing. And, you know, you get fleeting thoughts, but it's if you entertain them is the difference. You start entertaining those thoughts and then they start to fester. And I never doubted my love for her because I've never had a reason to. She's never given me a reason to, and I've never found myself going, is she really? No, because she's not selfish. She's always been about me. She's always been about preservation of her of goodness and herself and good relationships, and coming even outside of that, right? If you look from my own personal perspective, like, wow, what is this person doing for me in my life? How much are they impacting me? Is it time for me to move on because this isn't working for me anymore? You know, and then like trying to think of every small excuse to go, actually, nah, I'm not really going to be doing this anymore. And like, nah, that's not the way. It's a lie. It's a lie. And I don't have time to entertain the thought of it, because I made a decision a long time ago that this is the person I was going to be committed to, and I intend on sticking with that. And I mean, creatives in general, I'm going to speak for myself here, but just I find with being a creative person, you tend to start a lot of things, and then sometimes you don't finish them all. Do you know what I'm saying to you? And my relationship with my wife is not something I can fail at. I can't afford to fail at it, because it means more to me to make sure that happens than it means for me to be successful in other areas of my life. You know,
without that, you're not successful.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I even had to look at that from a very self-indulged perspective, in that, am I even the right fit for her? She's trying to excel past this place and that place and to get here and to get there. Am I helping her, or am I just dragging her back? You know, and then, like I said, your mind starts playing tricks on you. Do you really love her if you're going to stress her out all the time? You know, all those kind of thoughts. And you're like, oh, come on, man, just give yourself a minute and go for a walk, and man, just take some self-care. One of the things that myself and my wife have recently been doing, and it probably started maybe about 2 years ago, is that we would book a hotel room and just go and stay in there. And I don't mean for any, and I'm sorry, just let me be clear with that. We're doing this one up. So one of us is going and we're just having some me time. So sometimes I book it for myself. Sometimes I book it for her to get out and go and do her thing. Sometimes she'd book it for me. But the point of the matter is that it happens.
You have
So
that space.
yeah, exactly. So you go there, and my wife, her release is she loves to cry. She loves to have a good cry, and I used to look at it because of maybe I was raised. I used to look at crying as a sign of like weakness, but she had to explain to me that's her release. My release has always been like having a conversation or sometimes punching things. And I don't mean like punching through like people or I mean like having a good workout, like going
Yeah.
to work on the bag kind of thing, that kind of stuff. So some sort of physical activity. So it could be a run, it could be having sex, whatever it is. Like it's just some sort of physical release to get those the blood rushing, all that kind of stuff. So her thing is crying, and when I first heard that she would go there just to cry, I was like, well, why? And she had to explain to me literally that is how she gets with her. She has her thoughts, she processes everything, and then she has a good cry, and then that's square one for her. For me, crying is going down a step. But now, after having, and this isn't spoken about enough, but after having some therapy sessions, you kind of get a different perspective on people's coping methods, and you learn to develop your own. And for me, writing has always been one, and most recently having the most brutal conversations, the most honest conversations, waking up and going, you know, babes, I actually don't feel like being a dad today. I don't feel like being a husband today. That doesn't mean I'm going to go out there and fob my kids off and then go and start cheating. That doesn't mean that at all. It's just I don't have it in me to do this today.
Yeah.
So either I need for you to understand this and double up with whatever it is that you do around the house for just this one day, 2 days, whatever, or just understand that I'm not going to be present right now because I need some space for myself. And it's always respected because it's always done from a place of love. It's always done from a place of honesty. And that's kind of the things that I mean in terms of never having to doubt my love for her because she never gives me an opportunity to or a reason to. I just don't need to. And there have obviously been times where I thought to myself, I'm probably better off just running this thing by myself and doing my thing. But it doesn't always work out. And most of the time for me, I don't really want to picture my life without her. I genuinely want her in my life, and I would much prefer to be going through stuff with her than doing it by myself. But at the same time, I have to always consider if my position in her life is hindering her. And I'm sure that once we have those conversations, which we do regularly, she'll let me know.
Yeah.
Actually, this is too much for me, babe. Okay, cool, fine. Well, how you want to work it out? What you want to do? Let me know. Let's have a conversation.
The thing is, right, I'm here thinking, got to get to your second L. I don't feel like I can get to the second L because this has got so much in it that I feel that there's going to be lots of people that can relate to this. And it's not spoken about enough. Not just, society don't talk about it enough. The Black community don't talk about it enough. Like mental health. Yeah. In my job, I had an unfortunate situation where I had to cover the call for someone. That wasn't the bad part of it. It was the fact I spoke to this person. They didn't know what colour I was. I didn't know what colour they were. Well, I kind of assumed based on how they spoke and their name. But they talk about they work for a mental health place. By the way, for anyone that's thinking why I said how they spoke, let's be honest, we all kind of know how people are.
There's a voice.
How you pronounce your words, how you present information, you kind of gauge it. It's not uncommon. My name is Matt Brown. It sounds very English. You hear me speak, you're probably thinking, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I'm not. But let's just give you the idea of it. Yeah. But yeah, so the lady, she worked for a mental health establishment and it was just getting on top of her. It was just getting on top of her. And she started suffering with mental health. Her parents didn't believe it. They're like, mental health's not a thing. Let's pray it out, pray it out. And that's what we do. That is such an ignorant and disrespectful thing that we don't acknowledge. Someone could have a physical ailment. Oh, let's just pray it out. I am not, please don't say, I'm not hitting on anyone for prayers or anything like that. But if someone has physically got an ailment, a physical condition, or they're telling you in no uncertain ways that I am not 100% now, acknowledge what they're saying.
Right.
Don't disregard it and then hear what you want to hear. Hear the words that's coming out, because like you said about you can see a reflection, but you might not see who's in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Same way people don't listen to hear, they listen to respond.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's the bad thing for it. Like, I would like to think with my conversation with my guests, I don't listen to hear, or no, sorry, I don't listen to respond. I listen to hear what's being said and think, wow, that's something. How can we extract some more stuff from here so that other people may not have to go down this rabbit hole because you've done it for us? What are the learnings? What are the nuggets of wisdom you can share with us? We may still go down there, but at least we're aware of what the roadmap kind of looks like. And hopefully we can turn right rather than go the wrong direction.
Absolutely.
But you mentioned your father-in-law got involved. Why is it that he got involved? Did your dad get involved?
So this is always a bit of a tricky one because my dad is always around, but there's a difference between being around and being present. And
before you continue that thought, please explain for those that may not be aware of what you mean by that.
So it's like having, how could I explain it? It's like having someone in the house that doesn't speak very often, or doesn't share anything very often, doesn't contribute very often. Now, versus someone that is there all the time, but you have conversations with them. You get to play cards with them. You get to do all this kind of stuff. My dad in particular was like very much a how do I explain this? He was very much an oldish kind of traditionalish kind of character, where as long as you're teaching your son the fundamentals, which is how to fight, how to defend yourself, how to speak to girls, and then that's kind of it. Like the rest of the stuff you figure out along the way. You do your protection thing, which he did, and you do your provider thing, which he did. But my dad was very young when he had me as well, and I don't think he was ready at the time to kind of settle in the way that he did, which is probably the reason for the choices that he'd made. But I don't hold that against him. I feel like relationships, like him and my mum are not together anymore, and relationships break down, and that's a fact. And I don't hold that against him. He made the choices that he needed to make, and he definitely showed me how not to be, and that for that I'm forever grateful. So we still talk sporadically, but we still talk. But he made lots of decisions that served him, which is fine. Do what you need to do. But I didn't personally feel as though the give back where I would have wanted a little bit of either attention or support. I don't feel like I had it when I needed it. And my father-in-law, he was unselfish with it. He gave me time that I didn't even realize that I needed. He gave me support. He gave me grace. He gave me, and that's twofold because my wife's name's Grace. Anyway, he gave me grace. He showed me humility. He taught me what humility was. He taught me what leadership was, and just not only just by the way that he would speak, but just the way that he is. And he's a very knowledgeable man, and he decided that this person that his daughter was involved in or was sweet on. And I can't blame her for that, because obviously, mana, pretty flag. I'm playing.
Maybe not when you see him, but when you hear him, I get that. And when I say hear him,
Yeah.
I don't mean this, what you're hearing now, on the, when it's all been mixed
Yeah.
and when it's been
when it's
perfected.
edited and all that kind of stuff.
And you need the backing track to
Yeah, that's
complement it.
right.
You even need his wife on there to the BGs to sort of help.
That's right. All the support you can get. But that falls into the point. Is like I need a lot of support. You know what I'm saying? So, and yeah, he definitely showed me the ropes, man. And same with her brother as well. Like I have no bad things to say about him, man. They just like selflessly and unbiased with their teachings and just helped mold me into the person that I am. But what's funny about that, and this is probably one of the most crowning points, is that they could teach me everything under the sun. If I weren't prepared to go away and put that work in and do those lessons myself, it's null and void. So that doesn't take anything away from what they did for me, but you literally have to put that work in, otherwise it's pointless. And my father-in-law was really one of those people that would put work in for me, would speak well on my behalf, and I never had any sort of horrible intentions or, you know, any sideways ways of acting and stuff like that. I just kind of, I've always been that kind of, matter of fact kind of person, and this is what it is, and what you get is what you see with me. But like he always had time for it. He always gave me a piece of him, and he never, as far as I remember, had anything negative to say about me, other than the fact that knocked up his daughter when we were both quite young. Anyway, even in that, like he took a lot of L's on, well, I'd say obviously it's her behalf, but I contribute to it, and he managed to navigate around that, coming from a very sort of like religious, Christian background, and coming up through the ranks in church and all that kind of stuff. And for those kind of things to happen, it's completely culture shocking, and you just have to navigate it with such humility. And he did, and he didn't flinch. And I love him dearly for that, because he taught me so much about just how to forgive and how to move forward and to not hold things. He always used to say this thing about three cats called faith, fact, and feelings. And how he described it was, if your feelings is the cat that's in front versus your faith being way at the back. And then, as a matter of fact, the facts are not in the facts are not in front. If you picture the three cats walking along on a wall, the facts, you have to put the facts in the front. This is what it is, and then however you feel about it, it doesn't necessarily need to be driving you, because the facts aren't necessarily the truth, and you have to walk with that in mind. And he showed me that, and it kind of really helped. I say kind of, it really did help just keep things into perspective. Like those three cats are about perspective, and he gave me that lesson, and I'm always grateful for it, man.
Oh, that's really powerful and really encouraging to hear, especially when it's hard to think that many men would do that in any instance, let alone someone from a religious background who had their child, have a child outside of wedlock, regardless of what the relationship was like with you. If it's a young age, it's a young age. It's something that I'd imagine that most parents are concerned about for their daughters or even their sons in those situations.
Absolutely.
The question I normally ask is if you felt you handled it in a healthy or unhealthy way, but I guess you kind of answered it, I want to say, but feel free to answer if you don't think you've answered that question.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have, and I do feel like I did handle it in a healthy way, because at that point I was a sponge. I was willing to learn everything I needed to learn, because I wanted to improve as a man. I was quite young, and I just needed to. I knew that I needed to make changes in order to develop myself into a better person, and not necessarily for his daughter, not necessarily for my child, but just in general for myself, because you want to be the best version of you, and if you're not the best version of you, how can you be the best version and be that for everyone else, or be that for whoever else that you decide to connect with? Like, you have to be the best version of you, and that's an ongoing process. It's not like on Sunday the 25th of December, that was the day that everything clicked. No, it's an ongoing process. You know, and you kind of have to continue to be willing to learn all this all the time. And that is one of the things I was saying about, like, what's the word? Like, normalizing the thought of therapy. I was so anti it before, because I'm like, why am I telling a stranger my business? Or why am I paying someone to tell me something I already know? It just didn't make any sense to me. But something you literally just do not know the perspective that you have. Like, for example, like, I love this podcast because, like, it's kind of like therapy in a way, that you're hearing a lot of things that, like, people would have gone through, and you're able to relate to it, and this, that, and the third. But unless you're actually sitting down having a conversation with someone about the L's in their life, like you said, not every L is going to be a loss. Like, sometimes it's a lesson. Sometimes, sometimes the lava on your backside, the L is the lava under your backside. Like, it's just, you just don't know. Like, and sometimes those L's are love, and you just tend to try and make the best out of it. So, yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely.
That's really encouraging to hear. I'm conscious of time still, so apologies here. But could you speak on a little bit about therapy? Because you mentioned that, why am I paying this? Why, headwise, you're thinking, why would I pay a stranger to hear my business or tell me something I already know?
Yeah.
Why do you feel, for you, it was important to, one, entertain the idea of it, and two, to follow through and actually act on it?
All right. So the defining moment for me was when my wife said to me, "You've never done therapy before." I was like, "No." I was like, "How do you know it doesn't work?" "Okay, I don't." "You're right." "All right, cool. Well, give it a tester session." No, babe, I'm not doing that, man. It's long. I'm not gonna do it. And then she goes, "Actually, fine. I'm not gonna push you to it. Fine." When she leaves me alone and I go into my world, I tend to figure out. I mean, don't tell her this, but she's usually right. She's usually right, and, like, she kind of just gives me perspective in that sense. So, like, it just kind of, I was like, okay, cool. I've literally never done it before. I've heard that, a few people that have done it, and they were raving about it, but all of these people were women, and these, like, women in my life, and there was one guy, and I hold him very close to my heart. And he told me he'd done it, and it was changing his perspective on certain things. And I feel like that kind of shifted me over a little bit. Not because I didn't believe what my wife was saying, or I didn't believe the other people in my life that had experienced it, but it was like, I have enough evidence now to know that it could go the way that I actually want it to go. And how do I know unless I try it?
It's someone you looked up to who was gone through. You're like, well, if you can gain from it, then
exactly.
sign me up.
Yeah, for sure. But I do you know what it is? Because I don't like to be so ignorant in that, like, well, I don't like to be ignorant at all, but I don't, at the risk of sounding ignorant, I don't want to just do it because someone else has said it, and, oh, no, they've tried it, and it worked for them. Like, you literally have to decide. But that's my thing: gather the evidence, figure out why you can, or why you should, or why you shouldn't, and write those. I love to make lists. I love to do pros and cons. So what's actually good? How am I going to benefit from it? Okay, well, I haven't tried it before. Well, let me try it, or let's find a cost effective one, or because some therapists are mad expensive. So just kind of trying to figure out what one worked for me, and I went on this site that was specific to what I wanted, and what I wanted was to see someone that looked similar to me.
So a black male.
A black male, and I needed that for me. And there was a site, gosh, I can't remember what the name of it is. The link is in my phone. I think it's called Black and Asian something network, or something, or the other.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, sure. But anyway, that basically had, like, a list of X amount of therapists that were in, like, my area, or in London, and you go through them and you find out what their specialties are, and, like, you just pick based on what you see like a kind of like a CV, I suppose. Some of them into cognitive therapy and other kind of different kinds of therapy and stuff like that. So some are more counselors, all that kind of stuff. So you figure out what it is that you would want to check out, and then you go on YouTube to find out okay, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to go check what that means. You go on YouTube, you cross-reference, you make your list, you find your information out, and then you see your prices, you weigh up, and then cool. And that was it for me. I was like, cool. Because I'm looking at this list now. It's going, there's actually no reason for me not to try this, because I know what it looks like when I don't have therapy. I know what life is like without it. So let me try it and see how it goes. And worst ways, I've lost 50, 60 pounds. Worst ways. And I had to expose myself to someone I'm probably never going to see ever again in life, because it was like most of the sessions were like over Zoom or Teams or whatever it was, kind of thing. So, but you can either do that in the comfort of your own home, which was great for me, or you can go to wherever their establishment was. And I chose to do the Zoom one because it was just convenient for me. I'm home. It's an hour rather than 3 hours of a commute, come back, have the session, all that kind of stuff. It just worked for me. So cool. Did the session, and shout out to him, because he really was like, okay, I'm not here to try and fix you. What I'm here to do is listen to you and provide you with a perspective that is going to help you make the decisions for yourself, which was perfect for me. Because I'm a man that likes to figure stuff out. I'm a man that likes to kind of work on what I need to work on in the background, and then come to the forefront and do what I need to do. That's my kind of thing. So that worked for me. So anyone that's considering therapy, I feel like, find out what works for you. Find someone that you're comfortable with, and find your peace with the fact that it's going to be scary. Find your peace with the fact that it's going to be unsettling the first couple of times. And specifically talking to the man them right now, where you may be a bit cautious about going into therapy or that kind of stuff. It's not as daunting as you may expect, and you are definitely worth finding new perspective. You are worth getting answers. You are worth the happiness that you're seeking. You are worth the clarity that you're seeking. So to go forth and seek it and find it, hold on to it, and find your peace, your happiness, man. I definitely encourage it 110%.
And you're worth the investment.
Absolutely.
In the day, right, we've plowed money into smartphones, clothing that costs stupid amounts of money. And it costs a fraction of the price to even manufacture. Yet cost of living is as high as it is. We're dropping, I've got a 1 litre car that I take to work. I'm dropping £60 that comfortably. And that's not even an empty tank. That's like sub 100 miles, and it's cost me £60 plus to top it up. Yet you're telling me I can't afford £60 on my own well-being.
Absolutely.
That is for me the important part of it. I appreciate you sharing that, because I think a lot of people need to talk about therapy, what the benefits of it is. And I think if nothing else, a lot of us have computers or have phones, and every now and again we have to just kind of hold the power button down on our phones and let it restart after a few months, because it's just been on forever and it suddenly starts bugging out or it just doesn't respond. That's technically how you and I act sometimes, where we're just there and we're buffering and we're struggling. It's like, what's wrong with you? Come on. You're just like, do you know, let me pop the brakes. Let me just hit the reset button. And all you're doing is letting someone, don't get me wrong, they're professional because they deal with this on a day-to-day basis, but they don't have all the answers. My experience of therapy is the fact that they ask you questions and you find the answers. You navigate that scenario as you see fit. And I'm assuming now that you're a girl dad, your perspective on how you thought women were like versus how they are now that you've got one, it's like, oh damn, this is completely different. And that's something that they can give you insight into. And it's so I find the right therapist if you're considering it. We get our car serviced at least once a year, or so we're meant to, because we wouldn't want to go on long journeys and just run the risk that something's going to fall off or break down or something like that. So why would we not then go to the GP to make sure we get checked out, go to the dentist to make sure our teeth are looking how they need to be looking?
Right.
get all these different sessions in place to make sure our bodies is A-okay, because all the stuff that we go and buy, materialistic or whatever else, that will come and go. But once we're gone, we're gone. So if
That's
we can
right.
kind of preserve what we've got and maintain the quality of lifestyle that we deserve, and that's not just materialistically, but also the non-tangible items, non-tangible, intangible. I don't know. I'm keeping this in. Yeah, it's the ones where you got your relationship with your friends, your partner, your whomever it may be. And sometimes you might feel a certain way, but you can't articulate. Like when you spoke about your wife crying and you not being that life, I get crying. Sometimes I can't write a poem. Sometimes I can't get on a podcast and talk because it takes too much thought process to structure a sentence, to structure a body of work. I can't sit here and design stuff because I just need it out. I'm feeling what I'm feeling and I just need it out.
Yeah. Right.
And once it's out, I feel like dehydrated. I feel some sort of thing, but at least I'm feeling something rather than just numbness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's all there. And that's you go therapy, at least for me, it felt that after talking about things, my mind was so cluttered with all the stuff I've been hoarding.
Yeah.
That I was able to restructure and say, why am I carrying this empty box from 2002? That's got no relevance to my life right now.
Absolutely.
I'm now feeling some sort of way about it because it's there and it means I've got less room in my mind to think about this or to express this. It's just helping to reintroduce yourself to yourself if you haven't done it in a long time. But I'll ask you this, sir. If you could go back to the time where things got really bad, really bad for you, what would you have gone back and told your younger self just before you hit that turning point? What would have helped you hit that turning point where maybe it's your father-in-law stepping in or your brother-in-law stepping in and saying something, but what would you have told your younger self to say, yo, Ricky, you need to pump the brakes or you need to do X? What would that be and why?
It's a good question. I probably would tell myself to relax. It's not that deep. You don't need to carry what you're carrying right now. You don't have to try and control everything, and you don't have to be on all the time. Sometimes just go and sit down and say nothing and have a lot more water. Just drink water and relax, my bro. That's what I tell myself. Because I guess the way that, okay, I was born and raised in the 80s, right? So it's a different kind of era in terms of what was being taught to me as a black male living in South London. Like I'm getting influences from left, right, and center from all over the globe, kind of thing. You got Jamaica, you got Guyana, you got America. Like it's all different. Plus England, and it's just trying to figure it out. And like you tend to get a little bit overwhelmed with how it is that you're supposed to be. What I did anyway, and because of that, I didn't really know how to navigate. So I found it hard to find my stride, and I didn't find it until late in life. The confidence that I have now versus the confidence that I would have had 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it is. I have it now because I've taken the time to really go, I don't have to be involved in everything. I don't have to try and control everything, which I definitely tried to do. And when I say about the upbringing and the sort of like, traditional raising, so to speak, you as a Caribbean or descendant, there's all this stiff upper lip kind of man for cry and all them something there. You're like, I feel like crying. I want to cry. I actually want to cry.
Yeah.
So just cry. But then like, now you're showing weakness. And like, no, I've cried in front of my kids before, man. I've cried in front of my daughter before, and I feel like it's showing, to me, it's more showing strength, the fact that you can be that vulnerable and keep moving forward. That's more powerful to me. Like I literally was trying to navigate everything, and like as far as upbringing goes, the male's supposed to be the provider and the protector and all this kind of stuff, and it's so much pressure. And I just started to release it one by one, just one like responsibility at a time, until I was left with the bare minimum. And the bare minimum was making sure that I'm able to smile every day, or at least not feel like a complete wreck, a complete bum every single day. Think of something that I can be grateful for every single day. And that's the bare minimum for me. Like, I feel like crap on Friday afternoon. And now Saturday morning comes, I start to remember everything that happened on Friday. And now I'm like, okay, well, that's done. That's literally done. So I can do nothing about it. So let me just move forward and see how I can make myself happy today. So you find yourself the bare minimum. And that, like I said, starts from just simple moments of being grateful for the smallest type of thing. I've got a song out called Grateful that I released just before, or was it during the pandemic? I think it was during the pandemic, actually, 2021, I think. Yeah, it was during. And that song, like, I start with literally the bare minimum. Like, I wake up, open my eyes, see the sun shining, and I'm grateful. I have life. I'm still breathing. It's a good enough reason I'm grateful.
I'll wake up, open my eyes and see the sun shining, and I'm grateful. I have life, ooh, I'm still breathing. It's a good enough reason, so I'm grateful.
Those are the lyrics to the song, and it's as simple as it sounds. It's a mantra. You kind of want to put yourself in a position where you can be grateful for the smaller things, because then the bigger things that you feel like are a bit of a burden, they don't seem so big anymore. And that's why I wrote that particular song, and I feel like it's helped me get through a lot of my depression and feeling the way that I've felt in the last couple of years, man. So yeah, I would tell myself to relax. I would tell myself to drink water, and I tell myself to just let certain things go. You don't need to carry everything. You don't need to be in control of everything.
And do you think you would have heard yourself at that point?
That's the question. I feel like I would have heard myself probably a couple of days after I told myself, for sure.
But how would you have had to present it to yourself for you in order to go, I'm going to respond to that?
I would have, knowing myself and how I was then, I would have had to have written it down on a piece of paper and left it in my laptop. Just open it and I just see it there. You don't have to be in control of everything. Or open my laptop. You don't have to be in control of everything. Or put it on the back of my screensaver. You don't have to hold on to this. Or going to get in my car and sticking it on the wheel where the horn is, sticking it there. You can do this. You're good. But just reminders, small sort of reminders. That's all it takes for me. I don't necessarily need to be shouted at. I don't necessarily need to have someone badger. I don't need the jump up. I don't need it. I like stillness, and that's one of the things I probably appreciate about my wife, in that I'm already, well, she considers me to be quite hot tempered. I don't think I am, but whatever. She knows how to be the other side. She knows how to be the peace. She knows how to bring my temper down. She knows
she's a yin to your yang.
110%. I couldn't put it better myself. Literally that. And so, and because of that, when I get her soft reminders, actually, babe, bring it down. Actually, you were wrong for that. Actually, when you raised your voice, then you out of pocket. Okay, cool, fine, all right, fine. And I'll listen, because it's the small stuff. It's the small reminders, the soft ones, that give me everything that I need in order to relax. And I feel like my life is quite intense, so I tend to shy away from too much rah. I'm not into it. I'm a very introverted type of person. It may or may not sound like it through this podcast, I'm not sure, but like, I'm quite introverted. I prefer to stay home. Like, I'm actually on my way out now, funnily enough. I've been asked to sing at a friend of mine's birthday, so I'm going to be going out there, but I don't. There's a part of me that really wants to stay in at the same time, but this is part of it. I'm saying this is part of the sacrifice and all that kind of stuff.
When you got a gift like you've got to sing the way you sing, it's an honor and a privilege. Let's be honest. It's a gift you couldn't do. So I'm going to ask a couple more questions and then we'll cut out, just because I don't want you to be too late. So if all that's been said, this you post up as potential L. If it's not an L, what is it?
I don't want to be, what's the word? uh, what is the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say what everyone might be expecting and say it's a lesson. I guess it is a lesson in a way. I'd say it's not an L. It's not a loss. It's just relearning of love for myself, self-love, and learning how to love myself in a new way with new lessons. There are levels. There we go. There are levels. And just like when you're playing games, like you got your Mega Drive, your Nintendo 64, you got whatever console you're playing on, there are levels that you go through. And this level now that I'm on now is better for me in my headspace, and it has more potential, more promise, and more power. So yeah, it's not a loss, it's a new level.
Nice. So I like that. I was going to say, when I heard you struggling, I was thinking, is he going to say it's multifaceted? Because love for me isn't just one thing. It's not a noun, it's a verb, it's a doing word. There's so many components that make up what love is. A lot of people say the word, I love this or I love you. Like my son, he's only 3.5 at the moment. Like he will say, oh, I really love this. Son, you've never seen this in your life. You like this, right? So I get that. But then we as adults will do the same thing. We're ignorant and we'll say certain things. And it's like, do we really comprehend the gravity of what we're saying? And I think without that reflection, without that intervention of other people that have our best interests at heart, we'll never fully understand the gravity of the situation. We'll never fully understand what we've said, what we're doing, how it's perceived. And I honestly think we'll never fully understand it. We'll only understand it from our perspective of those that are exposed to those situations or based on what we've told them. But at least the more people we get involved in it, and I say this and I caveat it by saying, don't get everyone involved in your business because no need for that. But those that are already exposed to it, then if you trust them and they're worth talking to, ask them their opinions. Just make sure you're seeing the picture for what it needs to be. But I honestly am an advocate, and I think you've eloquently put it throughout this whole conversation, is that you have conversations. I love the fact that your wife can nudge you and just call you out and certain stuff. Like my wife and I do that, and there's been times where people that say, "Oh, I thought you guys were having a fight," and it's like, no, we just call it out at the time. And you feel like, yo, so you thought we was going to bust up and you guys are split. Oh, well. But you know, but it's like, yo, we had that conversation. We got it out, done and dusted, move on. You man, them are just holding it in, and next you know, it explodes, and next you know, you're picking up a piece of your tarnished relationship, unfortunately. But I guess maybe it was a good thing that you didn't go on for too long and just waste each other's life like that. So it is. Yeah, it's. I'm absolutely grateful for what you said. Grateful for what you shared, because I just think there's going to be so many people like that. That's going to be so happy to hear a guy of your stature being able to talk about the things you've spoken about so candidly, because normally these are kept behind closed doors. These are considered dirty laundry that no one wants to air. And it's like, personally, if we spoke about this more often, I think there'll be more people in stable relationships, because they're showing you how things should be done.
Absolutely.
By way of example, rather than, I remember years ago I went to church with my missus and they're like saying, oh, don't do this and don't hold hands. You're like thinking, bro, you got 10 kids, what are you telling me about that to hold hands? You can't, you're talking at this point, so hush your gums. So obviously I would never say it to an elder, you mad? But it's just those things. But what I will say in closing, can you use this next part to selfishly plug yourself, what you got going on, where you're at? I know in the new year you got a new album or EP dropping, so I might sprinkle that in there.
So I've been, for the last sort of 2 years, I've been working tirelessly and getting songs together for the next couple of releases, and I'm happy to say I've been able to get my next 12 releases sorted out, and I shot a video last week, and I'm shooting one again next week. All this content is probably going to be out in January, February times. I may, depending on how I'm feeling, I might put a little teaser out there in December. but I've got 2 videos in the bag, and I've got another 8 to shoot, and I'm going to be working very hard over the next 6 months to get that content out and done, dusted, and ready to be out there. And the idea is to get the next single out there by February 2020. Where are we? 2023. 2023. That's the idea. But yeah, as an independent artist, these things change, because I had this plan for last year as well. So things change, but I definitely I've been working harder than I've ever been working in my life, and I have structure, I have budget, I have order, and I have intention and a plan above all. So yeah, you'll definitely be seeing some content out.
So where people got to follow you then to make sure they're kept up to date with what's going on with you?
That's my website, rickymitchell.com. It's RICCY Mitchell, 2 L's. Mitchell like Grant and Phil, but I'm not one of them. There's my Instagram, which is at Riccy Mitchell. Same Twitter at Riccy Mitchell. I'm on Facebook as well, but I'm not gonna lie to you folks, I don't use Facebook. So the best place to get at me if you want to get in contact, it's probably my Instagram, my Twitter, and then my music is all over Deezer, Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music, all that kind of stuff as well. So it's all the content's on there. Just I guess maybe just Google Riccy Mitchell, RICCY Mitchell, and all the content will come up. And I definitely would suggest go check out my song Grateful. I put that out last year, beginning of last year. So it's a really encouraging song. I find it to be quite an encouraging song, and literally sit there and listen to it and think of the things that you're grateful for. And yeah, it's one of those ones. So yeah, please check it out. It's weird trying to promote yourself, but I'm getting better at it. I just, it's the ones you tooting your own horn, but it's just cringe for me. This is so cringe.
It's fine. One day you'll know your worth, and you know why you got to get yourself. Because I like to think of it like, I don't know if you've seen Toy Story. It's Toy Story 3 where the toy, what's that guy? Woody doesn't think he's valuable because he's like been worn, he's been used and he's a bit worn down. Then you've got the other toys that have been in the packaging, never been played with. And even both of them don't feel like they're valuable, because one don't feel valuable because they've been worn. The other don't feel valuable because they've not been played with. But until you try and exchange those items and they compare it to something else, will you really know what your value is? So they'll be looking going, I've had so many years worth of time with Woody. His value is, I cannot put a number to it. The toy that's not been played with, this is mint condition box. This is worth X amount of money. But until you compare them, they're going to feel a certain way. So until you see yourself for who you are, when you look at yourself in the mirror and see the artist that is Riccy Mitchell and hear that, my gosh, I'm touching people in places that they can't normally be touched. I'm owning this. I'm promoting it.
I'm with you on that. I definitely move like that when I'm out and about, and I definitely am that person. I am that guy. I'm cold as hell. I'm not gonna lie to you. I am. But it's them ones. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna give you my perception of me. I want you to figure out what it is that you are gonna enjoy. So that's probably more of the angle where I'm coming at, in terms of, I don't like saying this time.
Well, hopefully that'll change, because remember, right? Times are short. People ain't got time for you to be all cute with it. Just come with the facts. My guy talk about the 3 cats, and then leaves the facts at the back there. Don't start messing up with this. Put the facts at the front. I'm cold. I'm hot with it. I am all of these things. Like, don't. But no, I greatly appreciate you taking the time out to speak and to share everything that you've gone through. Really appreciate the conversation. You are as cool in person as you are on the gram.
Appreciate you, man.
I must admit, when Instagram dies, which I'm sure it will do at some point, because YouTube doing their thing now when they're trying to pay people. You know, you're like, I just had a lot to say Instagram, I'm trying to get some of that money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a mortgage to pay for.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
But until such time, I'll still be doing this, and I'll still be reaching out to people as and when. But you was one of my hit lists. I was so happy when you said yes, because there's, you have your hit list, you have your pipe dreams, like, one day I want to be able to reach out to someone. It's like, he said yes. Oh, yes. It'd be like Hercules.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, man. I definitely love having conversations like this. These are like, in terms of how, like, you have conversations, like I have conversations about my music all the time.
Yeah.
And I could talk about it for ages, but it's like this personal stuff. I actually feel like I thrive a little bit more in terms of like having these conversations, because I'm literally just sharing my experience, and I'm not necessarily going, this vocals and I just like having conversations, and that's all my music is. It's just conversations, man. And I'm happy to kind of always have these kind of conversations with you, and just talk about the narratives and things and share experiences and stuff, man. So it's a pleasure, my bro.
Not to worry. Well, to be fair, I did like the idea of the second L, but I was like, this one's too strong with it.
Yeah.
So if you want to come back for the second one, I ain't gonna say no, if I'm honest with you.
You know what? Let's get a date in the diary, and we'll make it happen, man.
All right, cool. We'll do that. But yes,
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that. Everyone that listened, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I hope you gained something from this. If you didn't, listen to it again because you missed it. Conversation like these don't really happen much in and around wherever you're at. But I would like to think on this platform, if you hear pop in the background, people got fireworks going off for who knows what reason. But if you listen to this podcast, the platform, it's all about people sharing their experiences of what they've gone through in life and what they've gained from those experiences, if anything at all. Because I'll keep it 100 with you. Some people go through stuff and they feel like they've not gained anything from it. They've not learned anything from it. And that's okay. Because it's all about perception. It's all about you and your personal journey. And I'm okay with it. I just don't want anyone to feel alone. I don't want people to think that life's just dealt them an L and that's it. Life's out for them. It's like, no, life's for the ups for the downs. And it's what you do with it, what you make of those situations. And if you don't know if you can see the wood from the trees in these situations, listen to people like Ricky, listen to people, my previous guests, and see what happened to them when they went through those situations. And you actually might find out it's actually been a redirection more than anything else. So hopefully you've gained something from this. I thank you for listening. I thank you to my guests once again. And yeah, to each and every one of you, just remember, not every L is a loss. Take care, and I'll speak to you in the next one.